Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the webinar for this new course that's been running for 1 year, MSc Global Strategy in Environmental Health and Sustainability. You're welcome to the webinar. My name's Robert Cameron. I normally get Bob, and I'm the course director for the new program. And I'll be taking you through the webinar, hopefully introducing you to the course, and hopefully you'll find it very interesting and something you'll consider studying. We think it's a very interesting course and very much of its time. We'll talk through some of the details of the course as we go, but the first thing I'm probably going to do is just talk through some of the benefits, general benefits, in the first instance of taking a master's course, master's study. And please feel free to speak up as you go along if you want to ask any questions, but there will be time at the end. So the first thing we should look at, I suppose, is the benefits of studying at UU. There's various options there to your benefits to you. Excellent conversion courses if you want to change career. If you're involved in some other career, whatever you might have done, what your initial studies were, if you want to transfer, change that career direction, in this instance it would be to environmental health, it's a perfect option to do that. We do see that people get a very good competitive edge in employment. More and more employers now are asking for, there's advertising jobs, and they're advertising, ideally with master's level, because they want to see that extra development and extra skills and knowledge and abilities you bring along with it. There's also a great sense of personal fulfillment. I know that going back to when I did my own master's many years ago. There's a great fulfillment there. You achieve that. It's a greater depth of knowledge and understanding you gain, a greater depth of achievement, and it really is very worthwhile. And again, taught by experts. At Ulster we have a lot of experts, very good educators, but also very good researchers who are working at the cutting edge of some of the things we'll talk about on the course, such as sustainable technologies and environmental protection and health and safety, things of that nature. But in the broader context of sustainable development, a lot of people here at that cutting edge and are bringing that research that they do into the taught environment, which is really good. Lots of great links with professional bodies as well. So as well as the academic side of things, there's a very professional input into it as well. So as we're making sure that the courses we're delivering, and this master's in particular, are focused on what the businesses out there want, what companies want, what those people who you're going to work for desire. We have a very supportive study environment. This course is entirely by distance learning, as you'll find out. But it is very much a very supportive environment. There's a lot of guidance and help, as well as the expectation you'll do study on your own. Of course, at master's level, there's a lot of support there in that learning environment we've created. You get your academic qualifications. You also get professional qualifications. The degree, we're currently in the process of seeking accreditation for the degree. So to get that accreditation by the Chartered Institute, and we're looking at another couple as well. So that is fantastic as well. And I say those great links with industry and employers, so we make sure that it's always current, that what we're delivering is what they want on the ground. So you become very employable. Some of the personal benefits to you, statistics show that on average, postgraduate earns about £8,000 a year more than an undergraduate coming out. So that's a very tangible benefit to you. And if you then quantify that up to over the period of a lifetime employment, that's about, in today's figures, that's about 266,000 over the time of your employment. And also we notice that postgraduates progress about 20% faster than graduates whenever you're actually out there in the working environment. That MSc you have is first and foremost sought by a lot of employers, and secondly, when you're in there with that MSc, you tend to move up through the ranks more quickly. So there are real tangible benefits to you. And if you just look at that final stat there, in terms of 90.7% of UK full-time labourers are postgraduate, are working in professional occupations, whereas for undergraduates about 72.6%. Now those are both good figures, but that just shows the difference that MSc, that extra level of MSc gives you. So that's just some basic background there. Some information there on applying to UU. You can look at that yourself. That there's the link there. I'll take you straight through the courses. One of the important things to note is that there's no official closing date for most of the courses. You can apply at any stage, right up to when the course starts, in actual fact, and you can apply for as many courses as you like. There's nothing that ties you to just one course if you're interested. Obviously, we want you would like you to sign up for the MSc Global Strategy Environmental Health, but you have other options there. And if you have any doubt at all, if you contact Ulster University through that link, you'll see the links there, or contact the course directors, and we'll give you that information at the end. Get some guidance on that, but yes, we'll accept applications right up to the starting date of the course, and it's generally a very, very easy process there. Okay. And you'll also get help with fees and finance. The starting price, and the price for this course is 6270 for 2021-22. So that gives you a guide price. There's options there for flexible payments. You get discount if you have been a graduate of Ulster, so you get 10% discount, and there's a 5% discount up front. And there are also loans. A lot of people don't realize that there are loans available to pay for postgraduate level master study. So you can look at that as well. But again, there's all that advice is on the site from that link, which is in the previous slide. So I'll give you some information on that. Now, what we're basically wanting to talk about today is the MSc Global Strategy, Environmental Health and Sustainability. In terms of this course was designed and is delivered entirely by distance learning. The whole idea of that was to make it very accessible to as many people as possible in whatever environment they find themselves, and also to make it accessible to people across the globe, because we do see this very much as a global degree, and we want people on the course from various countries. And already this year we're seeing applicants from Africa and beyond around the world, as well as a lot of people from the UK and the British Isles generally. And so we are seeing that wider application. So it is designed to be entirely by distance learning to enable you to take it at a time that suits you. So everything we do, there will be scheduled times for lectures and tutorials, etc. But we record everything just as we're recording things today, so that you can catch up at your own time, so you can work it in with your own needs within your family or within your working environment. Classically, if you're taking the degree full time, it'll take you one full calendar year effectively. You sign up in September and you go through the 3 semesters effectively through a summer semester, and you hand in your research project in September again. So that's the process. If you decide to take it part-time, and that option is available as well, that makes it more flexible for you if you want to extend it, and that's the time commitment you can afford to put into it. And typically you can do that in 2 academic years. But if you need to extend it further, you can extend it beyond that. And classically people do it in 3 and sometimes 4 years. But the majority of people probably do it in the 2 years for part-time. So those are that's the delivery entirely by distance learning and full-time or part-time modes. So now getting into a wee bit of the detail about environmental health. Excuse me. The environmental health, I suppose if you look at the classic World Health Organization definition, it looks at the physical, chemical, and biological factors external to the person. And so it's all about assessing environments and assessing factors and trying to identify those things which are causing problems for people's health, and producing some sort of intervention which can control that. But I think if you look at the wider context of environmental health, and one of the SDGs, we'll talk a lot about SDGs as we go through, you see good health and well-being, which fits very well into that definition of environmental health. But you can very quickly see there through that SDG 3 how it links to all the other aspects of sustainable development. It's not just about physical health, as we talk about freedom from disease, but also well-being and contentment. So whenever you look at that wider context of health, it's really, really important. And you see the linkage to the other SDGs. If you look, as we'll talk about them as we go, SDG 11, for instance, talks about sustainable cities and communities. So we look at housing and the facilities that you have in towns and cities. And we look at the environment you live in, trying to make that a healthy environment, free from pollution and free from other aspects of that might cause ill health. And we look at resilience. We look at Sustainable Goal 16, talks about peace and justice, and what we try to achieve through environmental health in terms of the regulatory side of it would be fair and equitable application of the law. So that has an impact on people's health as well. They feel in a fair society. SDG 6 talks about clean water. Obviously, that is so critical for our health. SDG 7 talks about affordable clean energy, and that is very, very important now. It's very, very core to what we'll study on the course, what we do study on the course, the whole aspect of climate change and pollution that we're causing and that impact in our environment. SDG 12 and SDG 13, responsible consumption and climate action, respectively. Those are so important for us as a race going forward for sustainable development, but also in terms of health. So that all fits in very much. That good health and well-being is right at the core and has impacts on all of those other sustainable development goals. That's sort of giving you the core concept of what environmental health is about, if you're not already aware of that. And excuse the phone going in the background. Apologies, that's the modern life we live in. Our course philosophy, I think that's so important for us, and this is where we started and we designed this course. And the philosophy we come up with as a course is sustainable is not the domain of one discipline or profession. It is the responsibility of all disciplines, professions, organizations, and individuals. Each has their own role to play in a global partnership. And that's where we built this course around, that whole concept that it isn't entirely focused on those 17 sustainability goals set by the UN, and how we incorporate that into the discipline of environmental health, and how we try to provide people with the skills and abilities to deliver those sustainable development goals and the impact we can make in partnership with all other organizations and businesses, and indeed with society. So that's the sort of core philosophy of the course, and that that provides us with the core thinking each time. We always keep that in focus whenever we're teaching it, whenever we're delivering it, whenever we're assessing it, and hopefully that fits very well with your own thoughts and ideas as well. Just briefly talking about in the actual course and some of the underpinning elements of the course, it's very much focused on that global dimension of environmental health. So when we talk about it, we're talking about that big global aspect and the 17 sustainable development goals. We also look at the Chartered Institute of Environmental Health, from whom we're seeking to get accreditation, and their standards. And we look at the 5 core things: food safety and integrity, public protection and well-being, and health and safety, housing and communities, environmental health, protection and sustainability. But we look at that in that global context. And you'll see there in that wheel that's on the right-hand side, you'll see the assess, analyze, plan, and the other element of it, which is cut out, is act. And that's what we want to emphasize, that it's about those critical analysis skills which we'll develop for you within these different disciplines. And on the course, we develop those critical analysis skills so you have the ability to identify hazards, determine appropriate interventions across the wide spectrum. So you come with those skills, not just to the knowledge, but with the abilities to actually make a difference when you look across these 5 disciplines and how they interact with all the other aspects of it that we talk about on the course. We also incorporate very much, and we'll talk about this in a wee while again, the 6 principles of environmental health. And very much, if you look at that, maintenance and protection of the human health is at the center of all environmental health action. So that we talked about that at the very outset, and that's core throughout all the modules we teach. There's also an emphasis there in environmental health principles, disadvantaged who suffer disproportionately. And that's something which we're seeing across the world now. You got the poverty gap, this division of wealth whereby the world is ill-divided, and that becomes very much, has a major impact in terms of people's health. Just in today's BBC News, for instance, they announced that more than 5 million people became millionaires in 2020. That was in 1 year. And the number of millionaires increased by 5.2 million to 56.1 million people across the globe are millionaires. But at the other end of the spectrum, there's a huge number of people who are in poverty. So that's that aspect of environmental health as well. By looking at that divide between those who have and those who haven't, how we can impact on that. Obviously, the need for democratic governance is very, very important. It's a key thing in one of the sustainability goals. Cooperation and partnership is a big issue of it. How we can't do it ourselves. We have to work with other people, link with other professions and organisations, government bodies, and indeed the public to bring it along. And environmental health issues are truly international in their character. And again, that's what we try to bring out in that course, this international dimension. The undergrad environmental health course will very much focus on how we train EHOs, but this master's very much looks at that broader concept of that international context. And of course, the biggest international context we have at the minute is that climate change aspect, which is very core to what we do as we work our way through the course. The course structure, just to give you then an idea of what things we cover. Already mentioned to some extent, and then I'll talk a wee bit about the cross-cutting themes so you understand the context of what we do. We cover food safety, security, and nutrition. So you can see that there's not just about food safety, there's security and nutrition, and that fits in very well with the Sustainable Development Goals. SDG 1 about poverty. People in poverty don't get good food. SDG 2, zero hunger, and then SDG 3, good health, and SDG 10, inequality. So it starts to tick a lot of those Sustainable Development Goals, because that whole concept of health through what we eat, but access to good food, food security, how do we produce good food, how do we make sure that people across the world have access to good nutrition rather than just those who can afford. So that's a big aspect of it in that module. And again, it's always focused on that sustainable development. Again, occupational health and safety, that's looked at in an international context. Very much looking at how we fit in again with SDG 8, decent work and economic growth. We need economic growth. People need to have decent work, need to work in safe environments that keep them healthy. And that has to fit in then with consumption in terms of overproduction or underproduction, and maintaining our environment in terms of pollution, but also classically climate change. Environmental protection and sustainable technologies. We look at environmental protection, but we also look at the whole aspect of what sustainable technologies can we use, and the whole focus of that module will be on that, identifying what the hazards are, but also how do we solve it. And we have some experts there in sustainable technology to teach on that. Sustainable housing communities, again, looks at that whole aspect of community generally, what houses people live in across the globe, how do we improve that, how do we solve those inequalities, and then how do we create sustainable communities, what do communities need to be sustainable. So there's a great focus on that. And you see going down through those modules, effective communication for health, emergency planning, response resilience is a big aspect of it, and we get a lot of feedback this year to say they were very impressed by that module, because we did simulations, etc., and dealing with emergency responses and how we deal with and how we interact with people. So we get a lot of feedback on that. So it is very much focused on those global aspects of those core disciplines. So wherever you might go on the planet to work, you'll be able to apply those principles. And as you'll see there, the themes, sustainable development has fitted in right the way through it. We're always focused on that. What impact does it have on sustainable development in terms of whatever the discipline is there? We look at policy, strategy, and interventions. That's really important to understand how policy is created. What does it want to achieve then? How we create strategy to intervene, and then ultimately, what do we actually do on the ground to make an improvement? And we apply that to all the modules as we go. You see there, humanitarian and human rights law, that whole aspect of fairness in society and governance and good application of law to create healthy environments and healthy communities. So that cuts through as well. And there's one module on law, and we very much focus on that whole aspect. The principles of environmental health I already mentioned, and there we always fit those in to the modules to make sure we're focused on those. And again, that global context. So as we look all the time at how is this fitting in a global context rather than just a local context, so as we can apply those skills and the knowledge we have across the board. So it's a very important aspect. And as I say, we fit that in. Those are the cross-cutting themes for all modules. And we've had feedback this year to say that's what we need to develop to make sure we're doing that. So that's really important. This really, I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but it's just to give you a flavour of what the course would be like to take it full time. There's two compulsory modules we have. Sustainable development is a core module, and that's again led by somebody who's an expert in her field. That's her passion is sustainable development, and that we feel that's the core for the understanding the whole course and understanding the whole concept of it. So everybody will have to take that module. That's your starter module, if you like. It's your foundation module, so it's everybody the full understanding what sustainable development is all about. Law and sustainable is another compulsory module, because as environmental health practitioners, environmental health, we need an understanding of how the law works and how it works to benefit people and what people's rights are and what a fair society looks like. So we look at that very much. Thereafter, the modules, with the exception of the research methods and project, which is the master's aspect of it, there's choice in the modules, and you'll see in the first semester you have a choice of one other module between emergency planning, responsible food security and nutrition. And then the second semester there's 4 modules there, and you have a choice of 3 of them. If you take it part-time, then you can pick and choose as you go through the year, so you may be able to get a slightly different selection of modules there. But just to give you a flavor of what you will cover, all the modules are worth the same value, except your final research module, which is the big master's aspect of it, and that's worth 60 credit points. And again, it's compulsory for the masters. In terms of that research method, we very much focus that on developing a research project, but instead of the classic dissertation, we look for you to submit a paper which could be published in a peer-reviewed journal or some publication. So that's a slightly different focus than the classic dissertation method, and we think it's very, very important, because that improves the body of research. We hope that the research that you will ultimately do will be of a very high quality and will get it published. So it increases that knowledge and research depth across the globe. So we see that as a very, very important and interesting aspect of the course as well. In terms of people who will teach you, we use the term they're a good mix of town and gown. They're academics, they're very highly qualified academics, doctors and people with master's degrees, etc., and a lot of people who do a lot of research in their specific areas, and they all contribute to that. But they also have very good links with the professional bodies and the industries we work with. So we have that link, so we're constantly able to adapt our teaching to meet what industry works out there, and we try to incorporate that within the masters as well. Some world-class research goes on at Ulster, and that feeds into the course. Sustainable technology is a big aspect. We have a section on sustainable technologies, and some of the people on that feed into the course to make sure we're at that cutting edge. You'll see there the Twin Towers disaster, and people within the university have worked on some of the analysis after the Twin Towers events, such as the safety aspects of it as well. So there's people working at very, very high levels in the university. You'll see their design of stadiums and such like, and even roads. We're working on safety of roads. So there's all sorts of aspects of world-class research, which we try to feed into the course as we go. So the people who are teaching on the course, they come from a broad range, not just environmental health practitioners, but people outside of that with wider industry experience and wider research experience. So we hope to give you a really good flavour and interest. But it's not all about just the knowledge in terms of what you gain in terms of knowledge. What we want is to produce graduates with skills, graduate qualities and future skills. As we talk about, knowledge is often finite. The things that are very current and are very, very important, but suddenly somewhere along the line there's new research comes out or a new approach comes out and knowledge changes. But what I think is so important is to have those skills, those qualities. And it's all about those personal skills and personal qualities and attributes. And through a whole range of different activities and assessments, what we're doing is to seek to help you to become creative, critical thinkers. We emphasize that thing about critical analysis. So it's not just about having knowledge. You're able to take knowledge and apply it and come up with critical solutions and innovative ways of dealing with problems. Or you'll be able to communicate with people. You'll be able to work in teams and to solve problems and work in partnership with people. You also, through doing the masters, you hopefully become a reflective learner. So you reflect on things you do, you learn from them, and you adapt to change, and you adapt your own abilities to constantly think of your own practice and how you can improve that practice. And it's really, really important in that aspect of thing. And we talked early on about that whole thing about, to be able to analyze, to be able to plan, and to be able to act. and that is so important, those critical skills. And the whole idea is you get these skills that you'll be able to take to any part of the world and any organization and apply them, and be innovative and really produce something which will improve the lives of people, improve their health, and strive to achieve those sustainability goals which are core to the course. And sort of finishing off here with we think this course is really of its time. We're looking to prepare our graduates to go out and make a real difference in the whole aspect of sustainable development. That was emphasized by Irina Bokova back in 2015, where she emphasized the change that's needed within education to really grasp the nettle about sustainable development, because of the impact it's going to have on people's futures and people's health, and indeed the whole future of the human race, if you like, and the planet. So she was emphasizing that more than ever now, education had to play this big role. So this master's is really, we feel, very much of its time. It's designed to meet those needs for society. We're seeing more and more now adverts where people are, organizations are advertising for sustainability managers. They want people to come to their organization and really look at the organization and see how they can start to meet those goals. Should it be their own personal consumption, their energy consumption, whatever that might be? Should it be in the products they're producing? How can they make them more sustainable? How can they produce less waste? And we feel that the course we've put together will equip you guys for doing that whenever you graduate, and that we think very much it's of its time. The external examiner on the course is very much of that opinion as well. He thinks this course is exactly of its time, and more organizations now are going to look for graduates at master's level with these skills to be able to go out there and make a difference in whatever organization you may end up working. Thank you for listening to me. That is a broad overview of the course, and hope it piques your interest. There's some bits there about COVID and such like on the course, but they've also put up that slide. If you have any questions at all regarding this particular course, my email is there and phone number is there. You can contact me at any stage. I'll be only too happy to talk you through the course, the context of the course, anything that maybe wasn't clear from this presentation, and to help you with applications indeed. And look forward to talking to you if I get that opportunity. So thank you very much for listening to me today. Has anybody any questions? I'm happy to field your questions. If you want to put them up in the chat bar, or if you want to just put on your mic and ask any questions there. Okay, folks, well, if no specific questions or anything you want to ask me at this point in time, again, do feel free to contact me at any time using that email address, probably the best way, but certainly feel free to ring as well. And I do look forward to hopefully meeting some of you on the course in due course. We do think it is really a very good and very current course, which will benefit you in your studies and your development. Thank you very much.